Jim, I got to put some equipment together this year. Some of my stuff is worn out. I had some colonies blow over and the boxes break, and gonna have to put some things together this year. And I got to tell you, I am not even close to the world's worst woodworker, let alone a good woodworker. And I know that you are. Can you help me out?
I can talk to you about it, and I do enjoy working wood. I haven't done it in a while. But, let's talk ourselves through it if you think you're going to be doing this.
Hi, I'm Kim Flottam.
And I'm Jim, too.
And we're here today on Honeybee Obscura, and we're going to talk, maybe ramble is a little better word.
Ramble is a good word.
Ramble a little bit about equipment, assembling equipment, buying assembled equipment, and trying to figure out which is the best for my location, Jim's location, and maybe your location.
You are listening to Honeybee Obscura, brought to you by Growing Planet Media, the folks behind Beekeeping Today podcast. Each week on Honeybee Obscura, host Kim Flottam and Jim too explore the complexities, the beauty, the fun, and the challenges of managing honeybees in today's world in an engaging and informative discussion meant for all beekeepers, long-timers, and those just starting their journey with bees. So sit back and enjoy the next several minutes as Kim and Jim explore all things honeybees.
Kim, while you were talking, I was thinking what I should have been doing while you were talking was I should have been hammering. I should have been banging something together in the background to add the ambience of what goes on here. 7 years, Kim. I keep reading and have read over and over and over again that the average bee box, even painted, lasts about 7 years. So that you're going to have to do something with this equipment sooner or later. Either repair it or use it ugly or buy new stuff.
Well, you just hit the magic word here, new stuff. All right. So I'm looking in catalogs here, and there's lots of new stuff out there, and some of it comes assembled and painted and with frames and ready to go, and some of it comes in a box and pieces. And a box and pieces, I'd take a step back. Where do you go with this? Assembled, unassembled?
Well, I'm embarrassed to tell you this, and I've admitted before, I have always gone unassembled for no other reason than I'm old. Assembled options have not been available for how long, Kim? 20 years or so?
That's about right, yeah.
And I've just told you I get 7 to 10 years out of my boxes. So I've also told in other episodes that I've got a lot of deeps left from my dad's bee supply business. So I keep assembling these materials, and I know a lot about that. It's boring. You said you're not a woodworker. Well, putting a wood box together isn't really woodworking. That's wood banging, wood slamming, wood whatever. That's wood foul-mouthing, because when the pieces lay there unassembled, they shift. And then those box joints don't cleanly fit, and you got to have a chisel or something to neaten things up to make them go together well.
See? I'm talking about assembly here.
It's not just boom, 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 like a jigsaw puzzle where things snap together perfectly. These things require some fine-tuning at times. Well, and I don't mean to offend any equipment manufacturer. I fully believe when it leaves the plant that it's precision. But it sits in my back barn for 15 years before I assemble it, and that wood moves. It absorbs and releases moisture. It changes dimensions, just enough to be too tight or too loose.
Well, the next part of this is cost. And I chased this a little bit a while back, and I can comfortably say that if you take a deep super and you buy it unassembled and unpainted, it's going to cost you whatever it's going to cost, say $25 or about $20 across the board, about an average of about $20 for a deep super. If you buy that deep super assembled, just nailed together or screwed together, however they do, different companies do it different ways, it's going to cost you about $5 to have them do that. So you're going to get it for $25. Now, I don't know the shipping, the difference in shipping. If you put an assembled super in a box and ship it to me, is it going to cost? It's going to weigh the same as an unassembled super, but it's going to be a much bigger package. So there's that to consider too.
Right. I was wondering, how many what do I have? A trailer or a truck pickup? Am I paying shipping? So yes, on one hand, this is really convenient. But on the other hand, I could only get 50 on my pickup and knock down deeps. I probably could have gotten 300 or 400 knocked down. So transportation cost, I would have to factor in. I love woodworking. I've done it all my life. But putting those boxes together, assembling those frames, your eyes glaze over. You just go bonkers after a while with these things over and over again.
Well, you mentioned frames, and I got to tell you, I wouldn't assemble another. I won't assemble another frame in my life. I can guarantee you that. I can buy a fully assembled frame with whatever kind of foundation I want in it, plastic or whatever, and it arrives in a box, and I take it out of the box and I put it in my hive, and it's ready to go. Assembling of frames, there is no way that I can save money by assembling my own frames, and it won't be assembled as good as the people that I bought it from already did.
All right. I don't disagree with any of that. Those companies now have, and to my knowledge, devices. I don't think they're people. I think they're machines that snap, 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 put those things together. A little dollop of glue. I like being a woodworker because you can always be critical. You can look at those frames, or you can look at that box and say, ooh, they didn't use spiral shank nails. And some of these staples have popped out. If they were using pen nails, some of those pen nails popped out following the grain in that wood. So you can monitor, you can observe, you can analyze the quality of the assembly job you did get. And if I can just keep being Mr. Know-It-All here, my dad had a paint supply business, so I still know paint inside and out. And I want to know, was that 2 coats? One side, latex, is that really going to be the most minimal paint job they could put on? Or is it a reasonable, high-quality product that's going to last 7 to 10 years before that paint finish fails? All of these things we don't know until you test by or get someone else's opinion or look at the equipment at a meeting and begin to appraise this. Do you want to buy this stuff yourself, put it together, and paint it? Or do you want to pay them to do it, and this is the job you'll get? Is it worth it?
If you're going to do this yourself, one of the things you got to know is how to do it. What you just mentioned, some kind of nail that I don't know anything about. So, what kind of nails do you use, or do you use screws, or whatever do you use? You can go online, and there are people who are more than happy to show you how to do it exactly the way that they want. And
yes,
with everything else that's going on online, if you don't know where to start, I guess what I would do is I'd take a look at sites that end in .gov, .edu, or maybe the site from the company that you bought the box from, if they've got one up there.
Mm-hmm.
That way, you at least have a good feel for what makes a good video, and you can start looking at these other ones because there's people out there that got better ideas. There's people out there that have equipment that you don't have that you won't be able to use, and there's people out there that are as marginally capable of working wood as I am. So you get a good one, and then you can look at the rest of them.
I completely agree with you. On the web, everything is there, and the viewer has to decide which ones are worthy information and which ones are not providing information that they wanted. But boy, that web-based video thing, that's a meaningful tool now. That is a solid tool.
Yep, it is. So
good suggestion.
If you're gonna assemble your own equipment, then either go to a class and have somebody show you, and then have somebody else show you how they do it. Because if you get 2 beekeepers, they're going to have 2 different ways to put these things together.
Yeah.
And so then you've got to compare and contrast, and then maybe take a look at a couple of these videos, and there's yet another way that somebody's doing this, and you can pick the way that fits the equipment that you have, the space that you have. I don't have a wood shop. I got half of a garage that's full of straw for my chickens and stuff for the rest of my life. So I don't have a lot of room to do this. So there's that too.
Well, there is that. Of course, I have a shop, but it's crowded and it's dusty, and it's not like I have limitless room. So even though I have a decent woodworking shop, I don't have unlimited room to assemble everything here.
Better Bee is pleased to sponsor today's episode of Honeybee Obscura podcast. For over 40 years, Better Bee has supplied beekeepers across the country with the tools, equipment, and knowledge needed to succeed. Because many Better Bee employees are beekeepers themselves, they understand your needs and challenges and are better prepared to answer your beekeeping questions. From their colorful catalog to their support of beekeeper educational activities, including this podcast, Better Bee truly lives up to their tagline of beekeepers serving beekeepers. See for yourself at betterbee.com.
Kim, what about, is this going to be heresy? We keep talking about wooden frames. What if you just bought plastic frames?
That's all I own.
I mean, forget wood and the whole thing. You just buy big boxes of plastic frames. They rack easier, been my experience. They twist when they're full. And when they do that, they'll crack the cappings and honey will seep out. But they're lightweight, they're cheap, there's no wood. You drop them in. But from a woodworking standpoint, from an old bee guy, good grief, Kim, they're plastic. I mean, how fake can this bit get? What happened to the wholesomeness and naturalness of woodworking? But plastic frames are here. I use them. I curse them, and then I buy more of them because you just open the box and put them in.
And if you want to go somewhat traditional, you can buy assembled wooden frames and get plastic foundation that you snap in. The good thing about that is that once you get that plastic foundation after 2 or 3 or 4 years, you can pop it out pretty easy, put in new, and you're getting rid of all that wax that's got stuff in it you don't want your bees, cuddling up with. You can either save the foundation. You can go a lot of different directions, but wooden frames and plastic foundation is it's as good as it gets. I think it keeps you happy because it's got wood on it. It keeps me happy because it's got plastic in it.
We're giving out of time. I want to finish on one of my old stories, senior citizen, because I have to do this because I remember when I was a boy kind of thing. When I bought my first pen nailer, my first Senko pneumatic pen nailer, I thought I just had the ultimate piece of wood assembly equipment. Before that, you hammered those frames together, Kim, with little 1.25-inch wire nails, 2 through the top bar, and then there was that accursed nail that went through the end bar into the top lug of the frame from the end, and it took years of practice to drive that nail through that end bar from the side and not hit the nail that you had just driven through the top bar. Now, having said all that, you get this frame put together and it could never be repaired because it was cross-nailed like that. So while you did a superb job, if you pop that frame top bar off, it couldn't be fixed because you had this morass of nails there. So that's why we're having this discussion today. You don't have to do any of this. None of that eyelet business, none of that wiring stuff, none of those nails that would bend over so easily and work through Christmas holidays, assembling those frames, getting ready for spring. You just buy them. They come together, put together. Your boxes are put together if you want it. It really is an aspect of beekeeping that's modern and convenient for those people who want modern convenience.
I can hear AI Root rolling over in his grave.
I can hear AI Root a lot. My uncle Albie, who taught me beekeeping, would be snarky right now and would be buying up that wire before they stop carrying it in the bee supply catalogs because there's not but one right way to do it.
Yep.
I've named that classic beekeeping, Kim. That was classic beekeeping. Because it's no longer traditional. Traditional beekeeping right now is exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Buying the stuff already assembled, plastic or not. But classic beekeeping was when you embedded foundation and did the whole thing yourself. You basically built the frame. You knew it personally.
Well, I don't, and I don't want to. How's that?
Well, I actually feel your pain. I don't want to assemble thousands of these things anymore either. As a young guy, I enjoyed it, radio going, but I'm done. I don't want to put together all those things and struggle with them. So if I had to buy a good number of these, a good number's 15, 20, 30, or 40 of deeps and frames, I would just check into getting a trailer and hauling the stuff home, put together, be done.
Yeah, kind of, and that, and the fact that it comes down to what's your time worth. And if you got time to do all that other stuff and you enjoy doing it, then more power to you. I don't have the time, and I no longer have the fingers that can hold those nails.
At 73 and a half, you cannot buy my time, boy. It is too valuable.
Yep. Well, there you are on assembling equipment.
I would suggest you check into just getting it turnkey. Just having it done for you. Don't worry about it.
Yep, that's my advice. But check out doing it the hard way and see if maybe assembled isn't better.
Good deal. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Talk to you next time.
To everyone, thanks for listening this long. If you hung in there with us, thank you for doing that. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.